A bustling courtroom, a scorching summer afternoon, a steely-eyed cop sits smugly behind the prosecutor's table, convinced he's about to notch another easy victory. But wait, what if the woman he's accusing is hiding a secret that could turn this case upside down? Across the aisle, a poised black woman, her elegant posture betraying neither fear nor outrage, awaits proceedings that could forever alter her life. Spectators pack the gallery, some muttering in disapproval, others clutching silent hopes for justice. What shocking truth is about to unravel in this courtroom drama? Stay tuned to Dark Stories to find out. Little do they know, beneath the surface of everyday courtroom formalities lies a harrowing story of betrayal, hidden identities, and shocking truths. By the time the final gavel falls, no one present will remain unchanged. Detective Ray Bradshaw had witnessed countless arrests during his 10 years with the Springfield Police Department, but tonight felt different. It wasn't the circumstance or the neighborhood. He'd made plenty of arrests in the rundown, dimly lit blocks of Maplewood. No, tonight was different because Ray believed this was the collar that could catapult his career to the next level. He had big ambitions, captain, maybe even a future run for public office. Arresting an alleged suspect in a violent confrontation would bolster his fearless reputation. The swirling red and blue lights illuminated the cracked asphalt. Nearby street lamps flickered, casting erratic shadows across the scene. 2 patrol cars formed a shaky blockade, while half a dozen onlookers craned their necks from behind battered fences and grimy windows. The rumor mill would surely spin by morning. Ray didn't care, he had a job to do. His partner, Officer Diana Kendrick, stood a few steps behind, eyes flicking over every detail: the bullet casings scattered on the ground, the shattered car window, the battered sedan parked at a crooked angle. Inside that sedan was Ebony Turner, mid-30s, delicate features, a composure that struck Ray as eerie for someone found at the scene of an altercation. "Keep your hands where I can see them," Ray said, inching closer, gun drawn but not pointed. The tension was palpable, thick enough to taste. Ebony complied, her face betraying no panic. "You've made a mistake," she said, voice calm, almost too calm. Ray didn't like that. A typical suspect would be shouting denials, crying, or cowering in fear. Her stillness, her unwavering gaze, made him uneasy. He nodded at Diana, who holstered her weapon and moved to open the driver's side door. Ebony offered no resistance as Diana pulled her out and pressed her hands behind her back. "We got a call about shots fired," Ray announced. "Your car matches the description." Ebony turned her head slightly, enough to let Ray catch the glint of determination in her eyes. "I didn't fire any shots." Ray exhaled sharply. He'd heard every excuse in the book: mistaken identity, self-defense, outright denial. "Is that so?" "Witness says otherwise." Ebony's silence only fueled Ray's confidence. He motioned to Diana to finish cuffing her. This quiet suspect was going to make things easy for him. She had no weapon, but the shell casings and bullet hole in her car told a story. Perhaps Ebony tossed the gun or handed it off. In Ray's mind, her guilt was certain. As Ebony was guided to the patrol car, onlookers hovered. Some held phones, recording or taking pictures. An older woman shouted, "Let her go. She ain't done nothing." Ray ignored them. The only thing that mattered was collecting enough evidence to ensure Ebony would be booked. That was the next step. When Ebony was seated in the cruiser, Ray stepped aside to talk to Diana. She recounted the anonymous 911 call, a woman in a dark sedan exchanging fire near a convenience store. Ebony's black sedan was the only one in the vicinity. "This is almost too neat," Diana muttered, tapping her foot. "We don't even have a victim, do we?" Ray sighed. "No body, no injured party. Maybe the other person fled. This area's no stranger to gang violence. She could have been in a shootout." "Could be," Diana said, her tone edged with skepticism, "but we have no weapon." Ray shrugged. "She looks guilty enough. We'll figure out the details at the station." A part of him, the seasoned detective, knew any number of explanations could exist for Ebony's presence. Yet the larger, more ambitious part chose to see Ebony Turner as exactly who he needed her to be: a criminal whose arrest would look good on his record. Sometimes it wasn't about the truth, it was about building your case. The night ended with Ebony in a holding cell, Ray completing the official report, a faint sense of triumph settling over him. He didn't realize that with each keystroke, he was weaving a web that would eventually trap him. Ebony Turner, calm, composed Ebony Turner, wasn't the defenseless suspect he believed her to be. Ray left the precinct in the early hours, his mind spinning with possibilities of how this case might advance his career, unaware that across town, behind steel bars, Ebony sat quietly, her thoughts arranged with military precision, planning her next move. Ray woke the next day, an uncharacteristic bounce in his step. The early morning sunlight streaming through his bedroom window seemed to promise a bright future. He quickly dressed, donned his badge, and hurried out, ignoring the slight pang in his stomach from skipping breakfast. At the station, he found officers finishing their night shift, tired lines on their faces a testament to another grueling night in Springfield. He headed straight for the records department, eager to see if Ebony Turner had any prior charges. If she was a repeat offender, his case was even stronger. To his surprise, Ebony's file came up empty, no arrests, no misdemeanors, not even a parking ticket. She was squeaky clean. That unsettled him. Typically, people involved in shootouts had some record, even if tangential. Maybe Ebony was an exception, or maybe she was adept at staying invisible. While waiting for an update from forensics about the bullet casings, Ray checked Ebony's place of employment. After cross-referencing, he discovered she worked at a local philanthropic organization downtown, the Unity Foundation, well known for raising scholarships and grants for underprivileged kids. The director, Linda Kapoor, was something of a saint in the community. Ebony's position was listed as program coordinator. Ray scoffed at his screen. A philanthropic do-gooder involved in a shootout? Something wasn't adding up. Could Ebony be living a double life, charity worker by day, gunslinging accomplice by night? It wouldn't be the first time someone wore a mask for society. Determined to find more, Ray scrolled through Ebony's personal data. She rented a modest apartment in a decent area, no record of a spouse or children, no upcoming court cases or civil suits. Her bank account was stable, transactions primarily related to her job. Nothing screamed criminal. His phone buzzed. "Bradshaw," he answered. It was forensics. The bullet casings matched a .38 revolver, hardly shocking, guns of that caliber flooded the streets. They found Ebony's fingerprints on her sedan's trunk obviously, but no prints on any firearms or casings. With no direct evidence tying Ebony to a weapon, the prosecution might struggle to secure a conviction. Ray gritted his teeth, his certainty from the night before was beginning to crack. He decided to visit Ebony in her holding cell. Maybe a face-to-face interrogation would crack her veneer. Entering the dimly lit cell area, Ray passed rows of locked doors until he reached Ebony. She sat on a small cot, hands folded neatly in her lap. She looked up, and for a fleeting moment, Ray imagined he saw pity in her eyes, pity for him. He squared his shoulders. "So, Ebony Turner," he began, testing her name, "you're a program coordinator at a charity and have no criminal record. Want to explain what you were doing in a shootout?" She raised an eyebrow. "I already told you, I wasn't involved in any shootout." Ray waited for more, but she remained silent. "We found you at the scene. Witnesses claim you were there when shots were fired." "A single witness," Ebony corrected, "who called anonymously." "Are you sure there was even a second shooter?" Her tone was composed, almost curious, as if speaking to a colleague rather than the detective building a case against her. Ray couldn't help but feel the balance of power was off. Typically, detainees pleaded for mercy, asked for attorneys, or spouted defensive ramblings. Ebony was doing none of that, she was simply stating observations. He shrugged. "We have enough to hold you for now." She met his gaze. "I'm sure you do, but that doesn't make me guilty." Ray tried to maintain his authoritative stance, but Ebony's calm demeanor was unnerving. "If there's something you want to tell me, I'm listening." She paused, then offered a cryptic smile. "Detective, you have a job to do, and I respect that. But I promise you, this is all a misunderstanding, one that's going to come to light very soon." His frustration flared. "Your best bet is to cooperate, otherwise charges will be filed." She nodded, as if considering, but said nothing further. Ray left the cell, a swirl of emotions. Ebony Turner was either the best liar he'd ever encountered, or she was truly innocent. Yet if she were innocent, why wasn't she more desperate to prove it? Why no alibi or named suspect? The seeds of doubt were planted, but Ray pushed them away. His gut insisted Ebony was involved in something bigger. He would remain confident, keep building the case, and let the courts do their work. After all, it was Ebony's life on the line, not his, or so he believed. That afternoon, Ebony's attorney arrived at the precinct. Charlotte Wilson, a tall, imposing figure with sharp eyes and sharper wit, wore a charcoal gray suit that demanded respect. Ray had dealt with defense attorneys, but Charlotte exuded a unique presence. "I'm here to see my client, Ebony Turner," she announced to the desk sergeant. Within minutes, she was led to a private interrogation room where Ebony waited. Ray observed through the one-way glass. Charlotte leaned in, speaking in hushed tones. Ebony responded with calm sincerity. At one point, Ebony's eyes flicked to meet Ray's reflection in the glass, a fleeting glance that conveyed reassurance, as if she wasn't afraid. Charlotte emerged, fixing Ray with a stare that signaled she was ready for battle. "Detective Bradshaw, correct?" she said, extending a hand. He took it, feeling her grip was not for pleasantries but a statement of resolve. "That's right. I'd like to see the evidence you have against my client. I assume it's compelling enough to hold a respected community leader overnight." He bristled at her insinuation. "We have witness testimony placing her at the scene of a shootout. We found bullet casings and a bullet hole in her car." Charlotte nodded, unperturbed. "And where's the weapon? Any eyewitnesses to her firing said weapon?" Ray tightened his jaw. "We're working on that." She pursed her lips. "I see. While you're working on that, I'd like Ebony released on bail." Ray shook his head. "She's a flight risk." Charlotte's eyebrows shot up. "A flight risk? My client has no record, a full-time job with the Unity Foundation, and roots in this city. I'd love to hear your rationale." Before Ray could respond, the door opened, revealing Assistant District Attorney Michael Hawthorne, a slick-suited man known for his zero-tolerance approach. "Bradshaw, I'm taking over from here." Ray stepped aside, letting Hawthorne and Charlotte talk. Their exchange was a volley of legal jargon, citing statutes and case precedents. Eventually, Hawthorne announced that while Ebony would remain in custody a bit longer, they'd consider the bail request after an initial hearing. As Charlotte walked away, she cast a look that said, "This isn't over." Ray felt irritation. He hated how defense attorneys always seemed certain of their client's innocence. But Ebony's composure and Charlotte's steely resolve were unsettling. He buried his doubts, telling himself everything would fall into place. After the lawyer's visit, Ebony was returned to her cell, showing no panic or distress. Ray checked the day's schedule. Ebony's bail hearing was set for the next day. He hoped new evidence would surface, evidence to confirm his suspicion that Ebony was more involved than she let on. Later, Ray sat at his cluttered desk, scanning the initial police report. He couldn't shake the feeling something crucial was missing. The anonymous caller's words echoed: "Shots fired, black sedan, woman at the scene." He wondered who that caller was. Usually, in Maplewood, anonymous calls came from people too scared to be identified, often worried about gang retaliation. Yet this call mentioned only Ebony's gender, no other vehicles, no further details. Ray jotted a note to look deeper into that call. In major cases, investigating a 911 tip was standard, but in a routine violent crime, it often got pushed down the list. This was no longer a routine case, if it ever was. His phone buzzed, a text from Diana: "We've got a lead on the store security footage. Meet you in the squad room." Ray headed there, weaving through the maze of desks. The squad room buzzed with activity, phones ringing, typed reports, suspects being let in. Diana was at a computer, queuing up video footage from the convenience store near the crime scene. "All right, let's see what we have," she said. They watched the footage. The camera showed the store's entrance, gas pumps, and part of the street. The timestamp matched the shooting. A black sedan, Ebony's, came into view. Ebony emerged, walked toward the store, but halfway there, paused and looked down the street, her posture suggesting alarm. Moments later, the camera shook slightly, possibly from gunshots off-screen. Ebony retreated to her car. Ray leaned in. So she hears shots and gets back in her car. Diana nodded. That's what it looks like. She doesn't seem to be firing anything. The video continued. Ebony hurried to her car's driver's side, ducking as if bullets were whizzing by. A silver sedan briefly appeared on the frame's edge, then vanished. The footage ended without capturing any shooters. Ray exhaled. This doesn't prove she fired shots. Could the bullet hole in her car be from stray gunfire? Diana shrugged. It's possible. In fact, she looks like she's avoiding getting shot, not returning fire. Confusion simmered in Ray's mind. The evidence suggested Ebony might be innocent, yet an anonymous witness claimed otherwise. Why would someone point the finger at her? Could it be a setup? Diana echoed his silent question. I don't know, but we need more. Let's track down that silver sedan or see if the store's interior cameras picked up anything. Deep down, Ray's certainty was crumbling. He hated the idea he might have arrested an innocent woman, a mistake that could ruin a life and a career. But he held on to hope that Ebony was hiding something. Her calmness, her cryptic statements, there had to be more to her story. Stepping away from the screen, Ray told Diana to retrieve more footage if possible. He planned to revisit the shooting site, maybe speak to residents who saw something. If Ebony was innocent, who was framing her? And if guilty, how far did her connections go? The next morning, Ebony appeared in court for her bail hearing. Ray sat behind the prosecution, scanning the crowd, curious neighbors, Ebony's co-workers from the Unity Foundation, even journalists sniffing a big story. Judge Harriet McNamara, known for her no-nonsense demeanor, took the bench with a firm gavel rap, calling the session to order. Assistant District Attorney Hawthorne presented the state's case. Ebony was found at the scene, bullet casings matched a .38 revolver, an anonymous witness identified her as the shooter, and she posed a flight risk. Charlotte countered, no direct evidence tied Ebony to a firearm, she had no criminal record, store footage suggested she was fleeing gunfire, and she had stable employment and community ties. Judge McNamara reviewed the arguments, her gaze drifting to Ebony, who met her eyes with unwavering composure. Given the evidence, the judge said, I see insufficient proof that Miss Turner fired any weapon. Additionally, she appears to be a long-standing community member with strong ties. Bail is set at $10,000. Ebony closed her eyes in relief. Charlotte offered a small nod of gratitude. Hawthorne looked displeased but couldn't argue. Ray watched Ebony step from the defendant's table, chin lifted, led out to finalize her release. Though he felt relief that she wouldn't be locked away if innocent, he also felt the sting of humiliation. The case he'd championed was dissolving. Outside the courthouse, Ray slipped on sunglasses against the mid-morning glare. He needed to think. Under the courthouse's massive columns, he lit a cigarette, an old habit flaring up during stress. He noticed Ebony and Charlotte exiting, speaking briefly. Ebony turned, locking eyes with him, giving a polite nod, neither triumphant nor resentful, then moved on. The image lingered with Ray. Ebony wasn't just calm, she was prepared. That composure wasn't common, especially after a night in jail. He needed to dig deeper, beyond her job and spotless record. Ebony had layers he hadn't uncovered. Back at the station, he called an old friend, Marcus West, with the local FBI office. Bradshaw, long time. What's up? Ray didn't delve into details. Need you to run a deeper background check on someone. Ebony Turner, lives in Springfield, works for the Unity Foundation. Marcus's tone turned serious. Is she a suspect? Potentially. Or maybe a victim. I'm not sure yet. I need to know if anything's off the record or sealed. Marcus agreed to dig and let Ray know. Ebony's release sent ripples through the community. Some championed her as a victim of racial profiling, others whispered conspiracies, claiming she was part of a powerful organization pulling strings. Social media lit up with #FreeEbony, while local news aired interviews with Maplewood residents questioning the police. 3 days after her bail hearing, Ebony sat at a picnic table in Willow Park. The late afternoon sun shimmered through oak trees, creating dancing patterns on the grass. She brushed away stray leaves, checking her phone. A text from her boss, Linda Kapoor, "Please keep me updated. We're all behind you." Ebony smiled. A woman in a modest black blazer approached Detective Grace Johnson, part of an FBI internal investigations unit rooting out corruption. Ebony's role, unknown even to her colleagues at the Unity Foundation, involved assisting such teams. "Ebony, you're looking well, all things considered," Johnson said, sitting. "I heard about your run-in with Springfield PD." Ebony sighed, tucking a lock of hair behind her ear. "Yes, it was unexpected. Someone deliberately called to incriminate me. We need to find out who." Johnson glanced around. "We suspect your undercover work might be compromised." Undercover, that word carried weight. For the past year, Ebony had subtly assisted the FBI, investigating ties between local gangs and corrupt officials through her philanthropic work. She'd gained community trust, passed tips, located missing individuals, and helped identify potential dirty cops. Johnson cleared her throat. "We believe Detective Bradshaw isn't crooked, just overzealous. But someone else in the department might be on a gang's payroll. They could have orchestrated the false witness call." Ebony's eyes hardened. "I had no choice but to keep quiet about my role. If I admitted I work with the FBI, it could blow the operation." Johnson nodded. "You did the right thing. We need to figure out who set you up and why. Be cautious, if they learn you're connected to us, you'll be in danger." Ebony's heart quickened. "Bradshaw's determined to make me a scapegoat. I see his doubt, but he's ambitious. He wants a big win." Johnson tapped her pen thoughtfully. "Keep up your calm front. The less he suspects you have powerful allies, the more he'll slip up. If we find who's pulling the strings at the PD, we can exonerate you and dismantle their network." They discussed a plan. Ebony would continue her routine, let the legal process unfold, and relay suspicious activity to Johnson. The FBI would investigate quietly. Officially, Ebony was just a defendant. Off the record, she was a key asset in a corruption probe. As they parted, Ebony's resolve deepened. She couldn't let fear or anger cloud her judgment. Her community depended on her programs, but her role was bigger than she'd believed. If she played her cards right, she'd clear her name and expose the corrupt figures who turned her life upside down. Walking away, she glanced at the courthouse in the distance, a foreboding silhouette. Trial day was approaching, and with it, the threat of her secret coming to light. One thing was certain: if Detective Ray Bradshaw thought he had her cornered, he was in for a shocking revelation on dark stories. Ray wasn't accustomed to feeling cornered, but the pieces of the Ebony Turner puzzle refused to fit. The security footage, lack of a weapon, her composure, all pointed to innocence. Yet his gut nagged. One evening, at his kitchen table, Ray reviewed case files, an untouched plate of leftovers growing cold. He glanced at his phone, hoping for a message from Marcus West. It buzzed, a text from an unknown number: "Stop digging. You're barking up the wrong tree." Ray frowned. Spam or a threat? He typed back, "Who is this?" No reply. A chill crept through him. Someone was watching. The next day, Ray asked the call logs department about the 911 tip. The clerk explained it came from a burner phone, a dead end. Frustrated, Ray's phone buzzed with a call from Marcus. "You asked me to look into Ebony Turner," Marcus said, hushed. "She's got a sealed federal file. I can't access it, and my superiors told me to drop it." Ray's grip tightened. Drop it? Why? They wouldn't say. Just that Ebony's off limits. "You didn't hear this from me, but someone high up wants her protected." The line went dead. Ray's mind raced. A sealed federal file? High-level protection? This changed everything. That evening, Ray visited Ebony's apartment building, officially to check for witnesses from the night of her arrest, unofficially to glean insight into who she was. He knocked. Ebony opened the door, surprised, in a simple blouse and jeans. "Detective Bradshaw, are you here on official business?" He cleared his throat. Following up on your case. Thought I'd see if you or your neighbors recall details about that night. She stepped aside, letting him in. The apartment was cozy, tastefully decorated with art prints, bookshelves of literature and political biographies, and photos of Ebony with children at community events. No new details, she said, motioning to a sofa. I've told you everything. Ray glanced around, noting the stability. Mind if I ask a personal question? Her posture tensed, but she remained polite. Go ahead. Why are you so calm? Most people falsely accused would be panicking. She studied him, a flicker of vulnerability in her eyes. Detective, not everyone wears emotions the same way. I'm concerned, but I know the truth will come out if the system works. Ray pressed. Are you sure there's nothing else? If someone set you up, if there's more to your story, it might help. Her jaw tightened. Let me ask you something, Detective. If I told you I had resources to prove my innocence, would you believe me, or see it as an excuse? He hesitated. I want the truth, Miss Turner, whether it confirms or denies my assumptions. Behind the scenes, Detective Grace Johnson and her FBI colleagues made progress. They trailed a car linked to gang leader Rico Alvarado, belonging to Officer Sean Miller from Ray's precinct. Miller had a reputation for skirting rules, small infractions, nothing that stuck. Johnson's sources hinted Miller funneled police intel to Alvarado's gang. If Ebony's work uncovered these ties, it made sense for the gang to frame her, discrediting her as an informant. Johnson snapped photos of a clandestine meeting between Miller and Alvarado's henchmen, money and an envelope exchanged. She needed more evidence. Meanwhile, Ebony focused on her court date, maintaining her routine at the Unity Foundation. One afternoon, reviewing scholarship applications, her boss Linda Kapoor entered. Ebony, how are you holding up? Ebony rubbed her temples. I'm okay, Linda. Ready for the truth to come out. Linda patted her shoulder. We have a big fundraiser next week. You've always been the heart of these events. If you're up to it, I'd love for you to handle planning. Ebony nodded. Of course. The show must go on. She needed to appear normal. Any deviation might alert those framing her. At the precinct, Ray received a sealed envelope with no return address. Inside, a photo of Ebony leaving an FBI field office, with a typed note, "Are you sure she's innocent?" Ray's pulse raced. This confirmed federal ties. Why was the sender stoking his doubts? Was Ebony playing both sides, or was someone keeping him off the real trail? He marched to Captain Lisa Muller's office, brandishing the photo. She frowned. Where did you get this? Delivered to my desk, no address, Ray replied. Mueller examined it. It could be doctored, but if not, Ebony might be more than she seems. Ray felt guilt, recalling Ebony's calm declarations. Captain, maybe she's working with the FBI, exposing something in our department. Mueller's gaze sharpened. Like corruption? Ray nodded. Possibly. Mueller stood, crossing to the window. This is a risky path, Detective. If Ebony's undercover, we have bigger problems than a shooting. Ray gritted his teeth. I want to do what's right. She turned. Tread carefully. If we expose her role prematurely, we could compromise her and any federal operation. Find out who sent this photo. Ray left, questions swirling. If Ebony was an operative, he owed it to justice to protect her. But he had to figure out who in the department was sabotaging her. The day of Ebony's preliminary hearing arrived under gray skies and drizzle. Inside, the courthouse crackled with anticipation. Journalists adjusted cameras, concerned citizens filled seats. Ebony sat at the defense table with Charlotte. Hawthorne flipped through papers. Ray, behind him, tugged at his collar. He'd prepared testimony but was clouded by doubts. Should he present the facts as he understood them or share suspicions about Ebony's federal ties? The hearing began. Hawthorne summarized. Ebony was at the scene, bullet casings matched a .38 revolver, an anonymous caller identified her, and she was a flight risk. Charlotte rebutted. No evidence tied Ebony to a firearm, she had no record, footage showed her fleeing, and she had community ties. Ray was called to the stand, recounting the arrest, shell casings, and Ebony's presence. Charlotte cross-examined, Detective Bradshaw, did you witness Miss Turner firing a weapon? Ray shook his head. No, she was in her vehicle. Did you recover a weapon from her or her car? No, he admitted. Could the bullet hole in her car be from stray gunfire? Ray paused, glancing at Ebony. Yes, that's a possibility. Any motive for her to fire a weapon? Not definitively, no. Charlotte let the silence sink in. Thank you, Detective. Hawthorne called a forensics analyst, who stated gunfire likely originated near Ebony's car but couldn't confirm she fired. By midday, the hearing concluded. The judge would review evidence for probable cause. True to predictions, she dismissed the case due to insufficient evidence. The media covered it briefly, then moved on. Ebony returned to her life, while Ray dug into the suspicious elements of her arrest. Will the truth finally come to light? Keep watching Dark Stories for the explosive conclusion. One afternoon, Ebony organized the Unity Foundation's fundraiser. Banners were strung up, volunteers arranged auction items, caterers set up a buffet. Ebony supervised, occasionally lost in thought about the lurking threat. Before the event began, her phone buzzed an unknown number. Hello? A raspy voice. Thought you got away scot-free? You won't be so lucky next time. The line went dead. Ebony's heart pounded. She texted Johnson, just got a threat from a burner number. Johnson replied, stay calm. We have a team nearby. It was a stark reminder Ebony wasn't safe, even with charges dropped. Across town, Ray zeroed in on Officer Miller. Quiet inquiries revealed Miller frequented bars tied to Alvarado's gang. A confidential informant hinted Miller was paid to feed the gang police intel. It wouldn't be far-fetched for Miller to orchestrate Ebony's arrest if she threatened their interests. One evening, Ray followed Miller to a dingy sports bar. Neon signs flickered. Ray parked at a distance, watching. Miller emerged, chatting with a tattooed man, Alvarado's lieutenant. A handshake, an envelope slipped. Ray snapped photos, adrenaline pumping. If Ebony's work exposed Alvarado's network, Miller might have framed her to protect his secrets. As Ebony greeted the mayor at the fundraiser, Ray felt admiration for her resilience. She'd endured injustice with poise, determined to help her community. Standing in the lively courtyard, Ray realized his role had shifted. He was now an ally in her quest for justice. But neither sensed the final act of betrayal about to unfold, exposing the deepest layers of corruption. The fundraiser was in full swing, soft jazz, laughter, clinking glasses. Guests browsed auction items, art, weekend getaways. Community leaders, business owners, and local celebrities supported the Unity Foundation's mission. Ebony circulated, thanking guests. She caught glimpses of Ray lingering, observing, and Linda Kapoor chatting with the mayor. Then, a commotion near the entrance. A large man in a dark hoodie slipped past the check-in, weaving through guests with urgency. His tense demeanor sent alarm bells ringing in Ebony's mind. She recognized him from an FBI briefing, Alvarado's associate. She approached Ray. We've got trouble, she murmured, tilting her head toward the intruder. Ray's hand moved toward his concealed weapon. I see him. Let's keep calm. The man spotted Ebony, striding toward her, a dark glint in his eyes. Her pulse spiked. Ray stepped forward, blocking him. Sir, do you have an invitation? The man sneered, pushing Ray aside. I'm here for the lady. Guests murmured, confusion rippling. Ebony stood her ground. You shouldn't be here, she said, resolute. He flashed a menacing grin. Got a message for you, Ebony Turner. You're meddling in business that doesn't concern you. The tension snapped. The man reached inside his hoodie. Ray lunged, grabbing his wrist. A struggle ensued, a gunshot echoed, sending shrieks through the crowd. People dove for cover, tables overturned, glass shattered. Ebony ducked, heart pounding. Ray shouted, "Gun! Everybody down!" Another shot ricocheted off a column. Ray pinned the intruder's hand, disarming him. The gun clattered to the floor. Security guards rushed in, subduing the assailant and dragging him outside as police arrived. Panting, Ray found Ebony crouched behind a table, trembling. "Are you hurt?" She shook her head. "No, I'm fine, thanks to you." Linda Kapoor rushed over, tears in her eyes. "Ebony, oh my God, are you okay?" Ebony hugged her, assuring her she was fine. The fundraiser turned into a crime scene, flashing lights illuminating the exterior. Officers cordoned off the area, taking statements. Detective Grace Johnson arrived, blending with local police. She locked eyes with Ebony, who nodded she was all right. Johnson approached Ray, showing FBI credentials discreetly. "Detective Bradshaw, I'm Detective Grace Johnson with a joint task force. Thank you for intervening." Ray recognized her name from Ebony's hints. "Glad I could help." "Who is that guy?" Johnson glanced at the patrol car. "A foot soldier for Rico Alvarado. They wanted to silence Miss Turner." Ray swallowed. They knew their plan to frame her failed. Johnson nodded. "Ebony's been helping us gather intel through her community work. Alvarado's gang and corrupt officers see her as a threat." As the night wore on, Ebony provided a statement to Johnson, omitting her FBI connection. Ray hovered, offering silent support. Though shaken, Ebony's resolve held. The circle of corruption was about to be exposed: Miller's betrayal, Alvarado's tactics. Ray realized this was more than personal redemption, it was the right thing to do. For Ebony, it was the start of clearing her name publicly. 2 days later, before sunrise, law enforcement mobilized. The FBI, Springfield PD's internal affairs, and trusted officers, including Ray, executed raids to bring down Alvarado's gang and corrupt officials. Officer Miller was pulled from his squad car, stunned to see Ray among the arresting officers. Confronted with photos of his meetings with Alvarado's men, he was cuffed, face contorted in rage. FBI teams hit Alvarado's hideouts, ramshackle houses in Maplewood. SWAT breached doors, flashbangs lit the gloom. Alvarado was taken alive after a brief shootout in his fortified warehouse. By mid-morning, the city buzzed with police vehicles, FBI vans, and media trucks. Social media exploded, citizens watched TVs, learning a criminal network had been dismantled. Ray caught his breath in the warehouse, spotting Johnson directing agents. "Nice work, detective," she said, grinning. "We've been chasing this syndicate for years. Thanks to Ebony's information and your willingness to follow the truth, we got them." Ray exhaled. "How's Ebony? Is she safe?" Johnson nodded. "She's at a secure location. This was dangerous, so we kept her off-site." Ray felt relief but wanted to see her, to confirm the nightmare was over. News of Miller's arrest rocked the Springfield PD. Headlines screamed corruption, citizens demanded accountability. Captain Mueller pledged reforms at a press conference. For Ray, the fallout was a relief and a burden. He'd played a part in Ebony's arrest but was now recognized for exposing Miller and Alvarado. The experience humbled him. Ambition could cloud judgment. Ebony met with federal prosecutors, finalizing statements about Alvarado's gang and the corrupt network. The Department of Justice saw her case as a powerful example of community-led investigations. After signing documents, she sat alone in a conference room, reflecting on the whirlwind: her arrest, the holding cell, the bail hearing, the fundraiser shooting. It felt surreal. Detective Johnson entered, smiling. "You did it, Ebony. Your information connected the dots. Miller's confessed to some charges, likely trying to strike a deal. Alvarado's facing a mountain of evidence." Ebony exhaled, relief mingling with sadness. "I'm glad it's over, but it cost so much for me and the community." Johnson placed a hand on her shoulder. "You saved countless lives. Don't discount that." She stepped aside, revealing Ray. He entered cautiously. "Hello, Ebony." A small smile tugged at her lips. Johnson excused herself. Silence crackled. Ray cleared his throat. I'm sorry. I let ambition cloud my instincts. I should have seen the truth sooner. Ebony studied him, seeing remorse. It's in the past. We've both grown. He nodded. I'll never forget how calm you were. You believed in the bigger picture, protecting your operation. Ebony shrugged, emotion catching. Protecting others was always my priority. Ray softened. You're free now, truly free. Your name's cleared. The city knows you're not the criminal I thought. Relief passed across Ebony's face. Yes, but the trauma won't disappear overnight. They stood, a moment of understanding passing. Ebony extended her hand. Friends? Ray grasped it warmly. Friends. Outside, Johnson spoke with an FBI colleague about the case's impact. Inside, Ebony and Ray found closure. The karmic scales balanced, Miller and Alvarado were behind bars, Ebony was exonerated, Ray faced his complicity. Justice, if not perfect, felt tangible. In the weeks that followed, Miller's corruption case sent shockwaves. Gang affiliates testified he brokered drug trafficking deals, provided police schedules, and orchestrated Ebony's frame-up. He tried to shift blame, but evidence was irrefutable. The judge handed him a hefty sentence, leaving him disgraced. Alvarado's trial was a spectacle, witnesses detailing his gang's reign of terror. He received a lengthy term in a maximum security facility. Hard karma had arrived. Ebony resumed her role at the Unity Foundation, expanding programs for at-risk youth and advocating for police transparency. Her courage spread, making her a quiet inspiration. Ray, chastened but redeemed, led community outreach initiatives, collaborating with Ebony on safety programs, forging an unlikely alliance. In the end, Ebony's ordeal proved truth could dismantle insidious corruption. The cop who thought he had her cornered watched in awe as she stood strong, revealed not as a criminal but a guardian of justice. In a city teetering on despair, hope glimmered anew. Thank you for joining us on this roller coaster journey with dark stories. From a tense arrest under neon lights to an explosive courtroom showdown, from hidden documents to a near-fatal charity event, we witnessed one woman's unwavering courage and a detective's change of heart expose a web of corruption. This story reminds us justice demands a community willing to stand for truth. If you found this tale inspiring, dramatic, or entertaining, hit that like button, share with friends who love a compelling twist of crime and redemption, and subscribe to Dark Stories for more gripping tales. Your engagement helps us bring these stories to life. Thank you for watching.